The sun hung low over the horizon, casting an amber glow across the fields where Liam Turner and Charlotte Dawson had spent most of their childhood. The scent of freshly baked bread from her family's bakery lingered in the cool evening air, mixing with the earthy aroma of damp grass. They walked in silence, their fingers barely brushing against each other's, as if afraid that the night's conversation would change everything between them. Liam was restless. He had spent the past few weeks thinking about the same thing, his future, their future. He loved Charlotte with every fiber of his being, but love alone would not put food on the table or pay for the life he dreamed of giving her. He was tired of struggling, tired of seeing his mother count every penny just to keep the lights on. He wanted more. At last, they reached the old oak tree by the lake, a place that had witnessed every milestone of their relationship. It was where they first met as children, where Liam had stolen his first kiss under the golden leaves, where they had sworn to be together forever. But tonight, it felt different. Charlotte sensed the tension in Liam's body as he turned to face her. His dark eyes, usually filled with mischief and laughter, were serious, conflicted. A gentle breeze tugged at her long auburn hair, and she tucked a loose strand behind her ear, searching his face for answers.
"Liam?"
she asked softly, her voice laced with concern.
"You've been distant lately. What's wrong?"
He took a deep breath, gathering the courage to say what had been weighing on his heart.
"Charlotte, I love you more than anything in this world."
His hands trembled as he took hers, holding them tightly as if afraid she might slip away.
"But love isn't enough. I can't stay here forever. I don't want to be just another man in this town, struggling the way my father did. There's an opportunity in the city, an investor willing to take me under his wing. If I go, I can build something for us, something real."
Charlotte's heart pounded in her chest. The words hung heavy between them, filling the silence with unspoken fears.
"So, you're leaving?"
she whispered, barely able to say the words aloud. Liam squeezed her hands.
"Not forever. Just long enough to make something of myself. And when I do, I'll come back for you. I promise."
Tears welled in Charlotte's blue eyes. She wanted to believe him, to trust that time and distance wouldn't change what they had. But the world outside their small town was vast and unforgiving.
People changed.
Promises faded.
"Liam."
She bit her lip, trying to steady her voice.
"What if you go, and everything is different when you come back? What if?"
"It won't be."
He interrupted, a desperate edge to his voice.
"Charlotte, I need you to believe in me, in us. No amount of money, no success will ever mean anything if I don't have you at the end of it."
She searched his face for reassurance, and for a moment, she found it. The same boy who had loved her since they were children, the same Liam who had sworn to love her forever. Slowly, she nodded, blinking away tears.
"Then promise me,"
she said, her voice breaking.
"Promise me you won't let anything change us."
Liam cupped her face, his thumbs brushing away the tears that slipped down her cheeks.
"I swear it."
He whispered before pressing a tender kiss to her forehead.
"No matter what, I will always come back to you."
But as the stars shimmered above them and the night wrapped around their promise, neither of them could predict how cruel fate could be.
I was young, I was restless, chasing dreams too far to see. Left behind your gentle whispers, saying don't forget me. I swore I'd make it, swore I'd rise, that love would wait for me in time.
The morning of Liam's departure arrived too soon, carrying with it an unbearable weight that neither he nor Charlotte was ready to face. The town still lay in slumber as he stood by the worn-out bus stop, his suitcase at his feet, and his heart heavier than ever before. The distant hum of crickets filled the silence, only interrupted by the occasional rustle of leaves in the cool autumn breeze. Charlotte stood in front of him, her arms wrapped around herself as if trying to hold herself together. She had barely slept the night before, her mind racing with doubts, fears, and the gnawing feeling that once Liam left, something between them would never be the same.
Do you have everything?
She asked, her voice too light, too fragile, like a mask barely concealing the storm inside. Liam nodded.
Yeah.
He hesitated, then reached for her hands. They were cold, trembling slightly.
Charlotte, I need you to believe in this. In me.
She let out a shaky breath, her gaze locked onto his.
I do, Liam.
Her voice broke.
What if this changes us? What if the city takes you away from me?
He stepped closer, bringing her hands to his lips and pressing a soft kiss against them.
Nothing could ever take me away from you.
He murmured.
You're the reason I'm doing this. For us.
She swallowed hard, trying to hold back the tears burning behind her eyes.
I don't need riches, Liam. I don't need grand gestures. I just need you. Here.
A sharp pang twisted in Liam's chest. He knew she meant it, every word. Charlotte had never cared for money or status, but he did. He had spent too many nights watching his mother struggle, too many mornings wondering if they'd have enough to get by. He couldn't accept that kind of life for himself. For them.
If I stay,
He said, his voice barely above a whisper.
I'll resent myself. I'll resent this town. And I can't let that happen.
Charlotte blinked, hurt flashing across her face.
So, you're choosing this over me?
Liam's breath caught.
No. I'm choosing this for us.
He cupped her face, his thumb tracing the curve of her cheek.
Charlotte, I love you. And when I've made something of myself, I'll come back, and we'll have the life we always dreamed of. Just wait for me.
Tears spilled down her cheeks now, her heart aching in ways she never thought possible.
And what if waiting breaks me?
She whispered. Liam's jaw clenched, and for the first time that morning, uncertainty flickered in his eyes. But before he could say anything, the loud hiss of the approaching bus shattered the moment. Charlotte flinched at the sound, gripping his shirt like she could hold him here if she just held on tight enough. But she knew, she had always known he was going to leave. The bus doors groaned open, and the driver gave a bored glance at his watch. Liam exhaled sharply, then pressed a lingering kiss to Charlotte's lips, one filled with every promise, every hope, and every unspoken fear he had.
I'll come back for you.
He whispered one last time. And then he let go. Charlotte stood frozen as she watched him board the bus, his silhouette barely visible through the foggy window. The door shut. The engine roared. And just like that, Liam was gone. Charlotte remained standing at the bus stop long after it had disappeared down the road, staring at the empty space where he had been. A deep, sinking feeling settled in her chest.
I traded love for riches, thought success would set me free. But a house of gold means nothing when there's no one here with me. I had diamonds, I had glory, but they don't compare to you. Now I see too late, the greatest love was the love I once knew.
One she couldn't shake. Somewhere deep inside, she feared that even though Liam had promised to return, he already belonged to another world now. The city was everything Liam Turner had dreamed of: bright lights, towering skyscrapers, and endless opportunities. It was a world of power, wealth, and ambition, where men carved their names into history with ruthless determination. And Liam was determined to be one of them. At first, the struggle was real. The long hours, the late nights, the exhausting meetings. He barely had time to eat, let alone write to Charlotte as often as he promised. But he told himself it was temporary. Just a little longer, just a little harder, and then he would have enough to go back and give her the life she deserved. But then, success came, sudden and all-consuming. Liam's name became synonymous with brilliance in the business world. Investors fought for his attention, competitors feared his rise, and the city welcomed him as one of its own. The man who once had nothing now had everything: money, power, prestige. But with every step up the ladder, something slipped further away. His letters to Charlotte became infrequent, then stopped altogether. Not because he didn't love her, he did. But life had become a whirlwind of business deals and grand parties, of silk ties and champagne toasts. The simplicity of home, of love, of the girl who had once been his entire world, it all felt like a distant memory. And then there was Victoria Hale. She was the kind of woman who commanded every room she entered, poised, intelligent, untouchable. The daughter of his wealthiest investor, Victoria was the perfect symbol of the life Liam had built. She was elegant where Charlotte had been simple, polished where Charlotte had been warm. She became his companion at every gala, his partner in every business venture. The city whispered that they were a perfect match, that Liam Turner had finally found a woman worthy of his success. But late at night, when the crowds disappeared and the city lights dimmed, Liam found himself staring at the ceiling of his penthouse, feeling an emptiness he couldn't explain. It wasn't until he saw her name in a newspaper that everything shattered. Charlotte Dawson, engaged. The word struck him like a knife. His hands trembled as he reread the announcement, his chest tightening with something he hadn't felt in years, regret. He had been so consumed with building his empire that he had forgotten the very reason he had started. Charlotte had moved on. Liam clenched the newspaper, his pulse pounding in his ears. He had wealth, power, and the admiration of an entire city, but for the first time, he realized he had lost the one thing that had ever truly mattered. And it might already be too late to get it back. The train ride back home was long, but the weight in Liam's chest made it feel even longer.
I traded love for riches, thought success would set me free, but a house of gold means nothing when there's no one here with me. I had diamonds, I had glory, but they don't compare to you. Now I see too late, the greatest love was the love I once knew.
The city skyline faded behind him, swallowed by endless fields and quiet roads, yet his mind was anything but quiet. Charlotte was engaged. The words had haunted him from the moment he read them. He had imagined this return countless times, but in every version, she was waiting for him, arms open, love unshaken. He had told himself that no matter how much time had passed, their love would remain untouched, because she was Charlotte, and he was Liam, and they had promised. But promises meant nothing to time. As the train slowed into town, Liam's stomach twisted. He barely recognized the place he once called home. The streets seemed smaller, the people fewer, the buildings older. Or maybe he was the one who had changed. Taking a deep breath, he made his way toward the one place he had always belonged, the bakery. It still smelled of cinnamon and fresh bread, just as it had when Charlotte's family owned it. The bell above the door jingled softly as he stepped inside. And then there she was. Behind the counter, Charlotte stood in a simple apron, dusted with flour, her auburn hair pulled back in the way she always wore it when she worked. She hadn't changed, not in the way the city women did, with diamonds and silk. No, she was real, warm, breathtaking in a way that made Liam's chest ache. For a second, she didn't notice him, too focused on kneading dough. Then she looked up and the world stopped. Her blue eyes widened. The rolling pin in her hand stilled. Silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words, lost years, and heartbreak neither of them had admitted out loud.
"You're back,"
she finally said, her voice unreadable.
For you.
Liam said, his throat tight.
I came back for you.
Something flickered in her eyes, something he wanted to believe was hope, but it faded just as quickly. Charlotte exhaled, wiping her hands on her apron.
"Liam, it's been years."
I know.
He admitted, stepping closer.
But I never stopped loving you. Not for a second.
A shadow crossed her face, something between sadness and exhaustion.
"Then why did you stop writing?"
Liam's heart twisted.
I got caught up in the life I was building. I thought I was doing it for us. but I was wrong. None of it meant anything without you.
Charlotte's lips parted slightly, but before she could speak, the bell jingled again, and he walked in.
A man.
Tall, with kind brown eyes and rough hands that had clearly known hard work. He smiled when he saw Charlotte and wrapped an arm around her waist in a way that shattered Liam's entire world.
Hey, sweetheart,
The man said.
I brought the supplies from the market.
Liam felt the floor tilt beneath him. Charlotte turned back to Liam, her expression filled with something he never wanted to see. Pity.
Liam.
She said gently, her fingers tightening around the other man's.
This is James, my fiancé.
For the first time in his life, Liam Turner understood what it felt like to be truly, irrevocably lost. Because he had come back too late. Liam stood frozen in the bakery, the weight of Charlotte's words crashing down on him like a tidal wave. James, my fiancé. His heart pounded against his ribs, his breath caught in his throat. The world around him blurred, the scent of fresh bread, the warm glow of the hanging lights, the murmured conversations of customers. It all faded beneath the deafening roar of regret in his ears. He had come back too late.
Saw your name in black and white, a ring upon your hand. Rushed back home believing fate would give me one last chance. But fate's not patient, love won't wait, and I learned that lesson much too late. I thought you'd always be my light, a fire burning through the night. But time moved on and so did you. Now there's nothing left to lose.
James held Charlotte's hand with the kind of ease that only came from years of knowing someone deeply. It was in the way his fingers brushed over hers, in the way she leaned into him ever so slightly. A simple, unconscious gesture, yet it spoke volumes. That used to be me. Liam forced himself to breathe, to school his features, but his hands curled into fists at his sides. He wanted to say something, anything to make her change her mind, to make her see that he had finally realized his mistake. But Charlotte was already looking at him with something that cut deeper than anger or blame. She had forgiven him, and somehow that hurt even more.
Liam.
She said softly, stepping forward.
You were my first love. And for a long time, I thought you'd be my forever. But love needs more than memories to survive.
His throat burned.
I never stopped loving you.
Charlotte swallowed, her eyes glistening.
I know.
She hesitated before adding.
But I needed love that stayed.
Liam turned away for a moment, running a hand through his hair. The past years flashed before his eyes. Boardrooms, champagne-filled galas, expensive suits, meaningless conversations with people who would never love him the way Charlotte once had. Had it all been worth it? He looked back at her, at the woman he had always loved but had taken for granted.
You waited for me.
He said, almost as if trying to convince himself that it had once been true. Charlotte smiled, but it was tinged with sadness.
For a while, I did. Every letter you didn't write, every visit you didn't make. I told myself you were just busy. That one day, you'd come back.
She inhaled sharply, as if steadying herself.
But then I realized something. If I had truly mattered, I wouldn't have been something you forgot in the pursuit of something greater.
Liam's stomach twisted. He wanted to argue, to tell her that she had never been something he could forget, but the truth was she was right. He had chosen ambition over love, believing he could always return to find her waiting. But love was not something you placed on a shelf and expected to remain untouched.
I did love you, Liam.
Charlotte whispered.
I loved you enough to let you go when you chose to leave. And I love myself enough now to know I can't wait any longer.
James shifted beside her, silent but understanding. He had won Charlotte not with grand promises or dreams of wealth, but by being present. By staying when Liam had walked away. Liam looked between them, his chest tightening. He had imagined returning home, winning her back, starting the life they had once dreamed of. But this was reality. Charlotte wasn't his to win back. She had built a new life, one that didn't include him. A sharp breath left his lips, and he nodded slowly, his eyes stinging.
I hope he gives you the life I should have.
Charlotte's smile was gentle.
He already does.
Liam exhaled a shaky breath, then forced himself to smile, because he loved her enough to want her happy, even if it wasn't with him. With one final glance at the bakery, the place that had once held their childhood memories, he turned and walked away. The bell above the door jingled as he stepped outside, the cold air hitting his face like a bitter reminder of what he had lost. For years, he had believed riches would make him whole. But as he walked down the empty street, the weight in his chest told him the truth. He had never been poor.
I was young, I was restless, chasing dreams too far to see. Left behind your gentle whispers, saying don't forget me. I swore I'd make it, swore I'd rise, that love would wait for me in time. But the letters faded, the calls ran dry, I let the days keep passing by. And now I stand where we began, but you're holding someone else's hand.